It's 4th and goal here in the Fareway Meat Zone. Frank's wide open, and it's a touchdown. He told us to let him cook. Well, will you look at this? Frank's flexing on his foes and bringing this crowd to its feet. That's what I call a grill iron victory.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans. And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field. Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Welcome back, guys. I love that commercial of Chris Williams. Makes me laugh every time. I know, just so aggressively. Welcome back, guys. Reaction time. I am Jacqueline Cordova, joined as always by my co-host, Ben Visser, sponsored by presented by Fareway. Iowa State Wrestling is finally back in action. December's a nice little break in terms of just like the grind of being in Ames, but I'm definitely excited to be back into regular season things.
Yep.
Excited to be back in Hilton.
Soon, hopefully. Well, not hopefully. They will be soon. But it's just like, oh boy, it's dragging out forever and ever. I mean, like you just said, Iowa State's last dual meet before this last one was December 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And then yesterday, which for you guys, I mean, Wednesday, January 8th. So December 21st to January 8th. That's a long break. It's a long time without wrestling. And man, their last Hilton dual meet was on November 15th. So they're going to go November 15th. And then the next home dual meet is Oklahoma on the 24th of January.
And you know what I noticed is that it's the Beauty and the Beast one. So it's not even going to be a conventional
dual meet.
Oh, that stresses me out a little.
Yeah. Beauty and the Beast is awesome. I love
it's a really, really fun experience. Aiden, have you been to that?
Yeah, I've been to a couple of them. Mm-hmm. I went when Kyvan wrestled.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
I think they wrestled you and I or something. When he was a freshman, maybe I went. Mm-hmm. And then I went last year. Last year they wrestled Illinois, or 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Went to that one. It's a really cool event.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
very cool.
Shout out to the people at ESPN Plus / Cyclones TV. It's a nightmare. I never worked it, but
I can only imagine like the logistics.
A lot of moving parts. So God bless them.
All I can remember is like sitting trying to focus on, I think it was like Casey Swiderski was wrestling, but then like Luke Combs started blasting behind me, which really confused me because I was like, what are the women doing behind me to Luke Combs? Like, what is the routine? Mm-hmm. So a fun time. But yeah, I feel like the schedule feeds into the weirdness of this season.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would agree, but.
No, I think that makes sense. Like, it's already a weird season just with injuries and lineups and everything in between. And then you throw in the weird schedule, like Iowa State essentially not being at Hilton for 2 months. It's like, all right. So you're just following the team from afar, sort of.
Yeah.
You watch on ESPN Plus or Flow or whatever they're on. It's like, all right, I have a feel for what's going on, but like, the lineup is different every single night, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think you would agree with this, Jacqueline. It's so hard to get a feel for this team. Like, I don't know that I have a firm grasp on what this team is yet. And I don't think Kevin Dresser does. Like, we're still seeing lineup changes even in last night's duel. I'm sure they have 2 more duels this weekend. I'm sure we're going to see more lineup changes. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, all right, it's one of those things where you just kind of go along for the ride and figure it out as you go.
Yep. Yeah, Iowa State was on the road. And again, weird schedule, right? They wrestled on a Wednesday night against West Virginia. They did get the dub, 24-18, but they split. So 5-5 in terms of match wins. Shout out to those bonus points. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, Iowa State definitely was in some dangerous territory there. It's so hard when you start really hot. Mm-hmm. Like you have Evan and Jacob Frost back to back. I mean, Evan wins 20-3. Jacob Frost comes in 9-6. Then you have Panero get his first career pin, which is just, you just love to see it. And he's at 149.
Yep,
he
back down to 149.
Yeah, hasn't wrestled at 149 pounds yet this season. Hasn't probably since
his freshman year.
Yeah, in 2022. So just very impressive. We can get into that. And then you have Cody Chittum who gets a pin, and then it just goes downhill.
Yeah, the wheels fall off just a little bit.
So it was just, yeah, that was kind of what I was telling Aiden before you got here it almost kind of sucked because you didn't feel super great about the win. So that's the only problem, I think, when you have a duel go 5 wins to here, 5 wins there, but the hot start was for Iowa State, and then you have to watch them just kind of trickle down.
Yep.
What were your biggest takeaways from this duel?
So biggest takeaways were, it's great to see Panero and Cody Chittum at the weights that we expect them to be at for the rest of the year, and both get pins. Neither one of their opponents were good. Sam Hilligus is a person I've heard of before, so like probably okay, but like he's not a guy that's going to threaten to be an All-American. Like he just won't. So Panero pinning him, getting his first career pin there was great. And then you got Cody Chittum, and that was a match that was tied 4-4 going into the second period. They each got a takedown in the first. And he got his little bar arm in, and like Sasha Gavronsky, his opponent, seemed to just be totally unaware of the situation.
Yeah.
And Chittum just kind of pushed his arm into it and rolled him over and pinned him. And like even afterwards, Gavronsky was just looking around like, how did I just get pinned? It's like, buddy, have some mad awareness there.
I would say, where's the awareness?
Yeah. So that, I mean, it's great to see Chittum do that. And then the other biggest takeaway besides those two just being at their weights that are supposed to be was at 165 and 74, we did have Riggins and MJ Gaitan switch weights, which Dresser indicated on Tuesday would happen, or Monday indicated that would happen. And then Riggins wrestled number 3 Peyton Hall, who has given David Carr trouble in the past. Like, Carr's always beat him, but I was looking it up earlier. 2 years ago in the Big 12 championships, Peyton Hall lost to Carr 3-1. So Carr only got 1 takedown on Peyton Hall. Like, Peyton Hall's a very good wrestler. Aiden Riggins goes out there, and he gets down big early. I think it was like 10-1 at some point or something like that. And then Riggins starts firing off his own shots, and he gets in on his leg, and apparently Peyton Hall is like an indestructible knee that cannot break, which is a little bit uncomfortable to watch, but luckily the ref was there to call potentially dangerous most of the time. But Aiden Riggins at one point was able to finish one of those shots. At another point, they're in a really long scramble, and I think against almost anyone else, Riggins comes out on top on that scramble. And I know, okay, so Riggins ended up losing 16-6. So I understand he lost by major decision and gave up bonus points.
Yeah.
It was also without a doubt the best he's wrestled all year.
I agree.
In my opinion. Like,
no, I agree.
That was the best I've seen Aiden Riggins wrestle. I think 165 is his home for the rest of the year. And Dresser kind of said as much on Monday. It's like some guys are just, their discipline is such that they can make these things work. And that's just their personality. And Riggins seems to be that kind of guy where I can cut weight well, and I'm going to feel good at that weight. And so far through one match against a really highly ranked guy who is a national championship contender, that played out. Riggins looked good. I think it's something he can build off of. And I mean, it was just really good to see because like Riggins was a pretty highly rated recruit coming out of high school when he went to Iowa initially. It's like, oh, this is a guy who could be something. And we've not really seen that either as a Hawkeye or a Cyclone to this point in his career. This was the first time it's like, okay, I can see why he was a highly rated recruit. I could see him doing some damage. Do I think he's going to be an All-American this year? Probably not. I want to set expectations, but I think NCAA and winning a few matches is relatively reasonable for him after what I saw against Peyton Hall. Yeah,
I think it's very important to see him be able to have a match like that, despite the way it ended. I don't think that's what's important. I think, unfortunately, I kind of expected a loss, right? It's number 3 Peyton Hall. Like you said, this isn't, he's just a top 3 guy. But I think it bodes well for how the rest of the season could go for him. It's not like he has number 1 and number 2 here in the next few weeks, where I guess I don't know what Oklahoma State's is. I shouldn't.
Oklahoma State at 165 is Cameron Amin at number 6.
Okay, I was going to say I shouldn't speak too far ahead of myself. But yes, it was nice to see him in a match like this instead of the other ones where it's just been very defeating. So I think it definitely shows that he's a lot better at this weight. I thought MJ just looked not like himself, really. In the post-duel interview, coach said that basically he just needs more reps. He just needs more matches under his belt, kind of shake off some of that mat rust, which I hope is the case. We've seen MJ do really good things in the past, and he's a fun wrestler to watch. He's very scrappy, very unpredictable. But yesterday, he just looked like he got manhandled.
And looked like, to me, he got tired. And I think part of that is your point of getting manhandled. I think he was giving up quite a bit of weight in his bump up to 165. He just looked small. I think part of that, with him looking small, he's feeling a much bigger guy, and he just got tired. And that hasn't been a problem with MJ Gaitan in the past. Like, he's a guy who comes on really strong in the third period historically, and that's oftentimes when he gets his pins, because he's like, okay, I've got this guy tired. I'm going to headlock him and pin him.
Yeah.
And we did not see anything really close to that against West Virginia. Like, he tore the guy's arm out of the socket, which was gross. Was crazy. But who is his opponent's name? I want to get this right. Brody Conley got it relocated, and took it to MJ. MJ lost that match 14-2, which is not typical MJ Gaitan. This is like Dresser said on Monday. MJ Gaitan was a round of 12 guy. Like, he was one match away from being an All-American at 174 last year. So, like, I think getting matches under his belt, I think getting his lungs back, and hopefully getting on that Ben Durbin weightlifting program and bulking up a little bit will do wonders for him, because we know he can be great. Right. We just need to see that now.
Yeah, that's why it just sucked to see it go from, like, I don't even remember what the score was going into that third period, but it just, he lost it in the third period, which, like snowballed. You said, that's not normal behavior for him. So, but I guess I will say, shout out to these guys for being so flexible in terms of just like bumping up, bumping down, taking turns, switching places, which I guess is a good segue to Panero Johnson. Again, he has dual victories at 149, 157, and 165 this season. Yeah. And Andy had a good tweet. Andy, the SID for the wrestling program. What was it, Aiden? Was it 21? 24. 24 wrestlers on the 42-man roster have appeared in the Iowa State dual lineup this season.
That's a lot of guys.
That is a lot. Again, I feel like we're talking about how football. Like, holy crap.
Yeah. Ideally, you throw out 10 guys all year long. And, like, if you want to get a red shirt some reps, you can, but
yeah. Oof. Here, I'll finish the rest of Andy's tweet because this is also perspective. He said, for reference, 21 Cyclones saw the lineup in 15 duels last season. So that's just crazy. Mm-hmm. And again, like I said, I guess it's a testament to the team he has, because like he said, there's just guys who do better when it comes to cutting weight, or like younger. He was very clear that he just thrived being at heavyweight. Sam Schuyler used to say the same thing, like he's just better at being at the top where he doesn't have to cut weight. So I think it's just a testament to some of these guys who have been pretty flexible about just going where they need to be, where Dresser needs them to be. So at least that's a positive in all of this, right? Yeah. So we have to find a silver lining. But yeah, Panero Johnson, I feel like we are watching the best of Panero Johnson right now.
Yep. The reemergence of Panero Johnson, which, like, we saw a great freshman year from him. He was a Big 12 champion as a freshman. Did not have a great NCAAs, and he'll be the first to say that. Yeah. And then the gambling hits, and so he can't wrestle for an entire year. But now, we are seeing a Panero Johnson. It's like, okay, this is the guy that we thought we could see as a sophomore, which I think he technically is still a sophomore, because last year was a red shirt. This is the guy that we expected to see as a sophomore, building upon his freshman campaign, hopefully becoming a little bit more consistent. I mean, this was his first career pin against Hilligus from West Virginia. So we're seeing some progressions. He's just as aggressive as he's always been, just as athletic as he's always been. That was one thing that the West Virginia commentator remarked on, is like, I mean, he defended that shot, and it was because of his athleticism, which is not a slight on Panero Johnson. Like, that is him. He is incredibly athletic, and I remember him getting out of that scramble situation. It's like, that is insane. There's not very many people who get out of that the way Panero just did.
I feel like it says a lot about his maturity as an athlete. I feel like when we were watching him that first season, Dresser would talk about, like, he's really good and he knows he's really good. We just kind of got to get him to hone it in, right? And I feel like he has. Like, I feel like we're seeing that in him and the way he's presenting himself. And it makes me really excited because, I mean, he won the Big 12 championship there at 149 2 years ago. Imagine what he can do now with the maturity and the time he's had training. I mean, I doubted him going back down to 149. I've said that I didn't know if he looked like he could get back down, but he himself said that he felt more natural there. And I mean, he looked great. He looked very dominant. I love this Panero. And that makes me excited because this is something I told you I wanted to talk about, was just like, okay, where are our expectations? Well, we can get into that, but Panero Johnson is one of those people that I'm now laser focused on. Like, I want to see how far he can take this as an individual. If we really are seeing the best of Panero, right? So I'm very excited for him, and I hope that we get him soon in media, because I would be so excited to hear what he has to say about, you know, how he's been training, his mindset. Like, I mean, how do you block out so much noise? I know they can tell us, and coach can tell us, like, oh, they're just focused on training, we're doing our best. But I'm curious to hear how he's handling that, you know, because I mean, 3 weights is a lot. Not many people can do that. I would be curious to know how many wrestlers have done that.
Yeah.
So
Sam Colbray is one of them.
I was thinking about him the other day, actually.
I think it was Sam Colbray. As a freshman, Kevin Jackson wrestled him at heavyweight, 197 and 184.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure Sam Colbray. The heavyweight match was against South Dakota State. I was there in Brookings, and it did not go well for him. But yeah, I remember that happening. So I think it has happened. But in fairness, no one has had the success that Panero Johnson has. Sam Colbray, I'm pretty sure, lost most of those matches.
Because then what was the weight that he was it a cut? He cut to a weight?
Yeah, he cut to 74 or something.
Okay, I was like, what? I was just telling someone this story about how when I found out it was happening, I was in the middle of a dinner. Like, I was at dinner and I had to, like, tell all my friends, like, I'm sorry, I need to write about this. Like, this guy's changing weights. Everyone's like, okay, whatever that means. So I was just reminiscing about that. It's funny you bring that up. But I mean, yeah, like you said, not many can say they are successful at it. So shout out to Panero. That's huge. I'm sure that feeds his ego, which it should. Another thing that I think is fun, Evan and Jacob. How fun, not only to be twins, be in the starting lineup. We've talked extensively about how much they love each other and they just love doing everything and anything together. Well, now they're winning together.
Yep.
How fun.
Which is, yeah, it is super fun. And I know, and we can talk about this soon, but Anthony Echemendia will be the guy at 141 if he's healthy. It sounds like he's cutting down to that weight. So we'll see how long Jacob Frost is in lineup. Maybe he's in it for the rest of the year. Maybe Anthony can't quite get over his high ankle sprain. But it is so fun seeing twins just, I mean, Iowa had it with Terry and Tom Brands. Iowa State had it with Trevor Paulson.
Aiden, double check that for us.
The Paulson twins. So you get this, and
Travis.
Thank you. So yeah, it's just fun. So wrestling has a history of twins doing really well, wrestling the same lineup. And now it seems like Iowa State has another pair of twins with the Frost brothers who, as Jackie just said, do everything together. They have the exact same schedule. They and I don't just mean generally speaking. They have the exact same
literally
class schedule. Like, was it Evan who's like, yeah, I wake up like a minute or two after him, so I feel bad about that. It's like, And like, I believe him that it's down to a minute or two later. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, I sleep in a little bit more. It's like, no, I sleep in like 1 to 2 minutes later than him and I feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So like, these are two guys that do the exact same thing all the time together. And A, it's just kind of funny. But B, to see them having the success that they are is great. I mean, Evan Frost has clearly proven himself to be one of the best All-American caliber guys in the country. Wins by tech fall pretty handily. Jacob Frost gets a better opponent in Jordan Titus, who's a pretty good wrestler, beats him 9-6, got a takedown late in the third period. And it's just like, okay, no, these are two guys that can do some damage. And again, I think Anthony Etchemendia is better. So he'll probably get inserted back in that lineup. But for like the next few years, you do get the Frost twins in the lineup. And that is very fun for both us as fans, you guys as fans, and them as twin brothers.
Well, and the fun thing is we had such a good first season of Evan, right? Like, it was just so fun to see how far he got, and he did it just like quietly. Like, no one was really like, we'd talk about all these people having success, but Evan just kind of was underrated. And I think he has a solid chance of being an All-American again. I mean, no, he didn't wrestle someone like a top-ranked guy by any means, but this is how he should be winning against guys like this. He won 20-3 in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. This is the Evan Frost we're used to.
So this, when you are a top 10 guy, you should be beating unranked guys by tech fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's promising and that's exciting. And I really like Evan Frost. I felt very indifferent when they first started, and I really like what he's doing for this program. It's very fun. Another win, Cody Chittum. I love Cody Chittum. I want to go and tweet this video, but Cody was talking about how he trains, and he was saying how like he's psycho. He's like, I'm a psycho. I don't think anyone else is like me. And you can see it when he's on the mat, especially now that he's let his hair grow out. It is just so chaotic. I can't imagine being his opponent and going in for like a hand fight or something. And it's just like his hair is all over the place.
Mop.
But it was very fun to see him get a pin. I'm very excited to have him at 157. I hope that's where he stays. It seems like it, like you said earlier. I think he's definitely a bright spot and a very, what's the word? It's on the tip of my tongue, but just like a very up in the air season, right? Like things are just changing constantly. And I think we can feel comfortable with where Cody Chittum is right now.
Yep, I think so too. I think as long as he's able to stay healthy, which with him, it's always been concussions. So like, just don't get concussed.
Don't.
Which is so easy to say.
Right.
Just don't get concussed. And like, he's an All-American caliber wrestler.
Yeah.
Dresser has said multiple times this year, is like, I know things are up in the air right now and we don't look like a great team necessarily, but he's like, I think we can be a great team come February and come March. And I buy into that. If you keep these guys healthy, if you keep Cody Chittum, Panero Johnson, if Anthony Etchemendia gets healthy, if Younger Bastida comes back healthy, Christian Carroll comes back at some point and looks right. Like, this is a very good team on paper.
I agree. I mean, when we started the season and the Cody Chittum news came out, I was devastated because he's so good and he makes such an impact. And it's guys like Cody Chittum and MJ Gaitan who make a difference in March, who earn the points you need to just get the edge you need over certain teams. So those guys make a difference, and I'm glad they're in the lineup. It just, like you said, they need to stay healthy. They need to just get some reps. So, and Evan Bachman, I was thinking, how fun would it have been if we had just had Evan from the start? It's fun to look back on his journey. He's obviously transferred a few times, but I feel like this is the best Evan Bachman's ever been.
For sure.
And I love him even more after we got a chance to talk to him on Monday. He's just so candid. He's like the wrestlers we talk about, right? Who have like no media training. But in a good way. Like, it's not like he's saying anything like bad. He's just, he is who he is. And he talked a lot about just how happy he is to be in Ames. He said there's not a huge difference from Ames than where he's from in Alaska. Yep. Which I found very interesting. But he was really good too. He won 9-1. He looked really good. He looked solid. Like, he just, again, he looked the way he wrestled, he looks like a guy who will consistently perform, you know, who you can count on getting a win is kind of the way I felt watching him win yesterday against number 16, Dennis Robin.
Yeah. Beat him by major decision 9-1. And to build off your point, he just always seems like a guy who's in control.
Yeah.
Like he's MJ Gaitan, even when he's wrestling his best, you're a little bit nervous the whole time.
Yeah, you're kind of just holding your breath.
Evan Bachman is a complete opposite feeling. Even if he's kind of getting beat, you're like, I think he can pull this through. He just is always so in control. And what I love about Evan Bachman too is, like you said, he transferred a couple times, but this isn't someone transferring to make money. Well, to Iowa State it is, but like before, it was not transferring to make money. Like he committed to Cal Baptist out of high school as an Alaskan. He's like, I wasn't even sure. He said this on Monday. I wasn't even sure if I could wrestle D1. And his first year at Cal Baptist, he went 4-3, which is at Cal Baptist. I don't know who's on their schedule. Not very good.
Yeah.
Second year at Utah, he transfers to Utah Valley, goes 14-11 at Utah Valley. Yeah, not very good, but was an NCAA qualifier. And then he started turning it around, and we started to see 21-10 his junior year, and then his first senior year, 19-9. NCAA qualifiers 3 times, transfers to Iowa State for his second senior COVID year, whatever you want to call it. And I think, like you said, we are seeing the best Evan Bachman right now. He's, I think, wrestling in Iowa State's wrestling room is helping quite a bit, just with the higher competition level in the room. And I think he does gravitate toward that leader role that Iowa State really needs right now, because you don't have David Carr. The guys who you would have expected to lead, like a Casey Swiderski, A, are young, and B, are injured. Same with younger Bastida. Older, but injured. And like Dresser was saying, those two guys are doing a good job of, when guys are practicing, going around, giving them pointers. Like those, so they're still leading the team, but you need a guy in the lineup to lead. And right now, I think Evan Bachman does fit that role.
Well, and it reminds me of, I can't remember if it was Chittum or Gaitan who said this. They talked about how last season, what really gave them such fire was that they had each other to bounce off of, right? And you're kind of missing that, especially with so much uncertainty of who's wrestling. And I'm sure it kind of changes up when you're going to go out there at a new weight than you were the week before. So I think, yeah, it's nice to have consistency. And when I think of consistency, I think of Evan Bachman, who's been pretty consistent, who also kind of got dinged up there. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, Cliff Keen.
Just, my gosh. It's just crazy how injuries are just plaguing this team, which, again, really sucks with how much hype there was coming into it after, winning the Big 12 and finishing 4th. And it just sucks. It just sucks. But looking ahead, I feel, well, before I jump ahead, do you have anything you would like to say about the other matches?
Kaon Tarina lost a tough one to Jet Strickenberger. He was right there. It was a crazy scramble at the end of the match. There's probably a world where Kaon finishes that takedown and wins the match. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But Kaon, to this point, has looked pretty good at 125, which is obviously what he's always been at. But we weren't sure. I mean, last year he started off really strong and then just kind of totally tailed off and was not reliable at all. Dresser said from the beginning of the year this year, like, Kaon looks really good, guys. Believe me. Promise, he's always been hurt. So now we're seeing Kaon. It's like, I can see what you're saying, coach. I can see it. I want to see it more in matches. I want to see him come out on top against Jet Strickenberger. I need
him to finish.
I need him to beat both Ryder and Bucknell, these next 2 dual meets. So Kaon, I think, is there. He's right there. Just build on it, which is something he's historically had a lot of trouble with. Yeah. Build on it.
That's a really good point. He does kind of struggle to. He's like, was it St. John who said, did he say, I was thinking about this morning, actually. Was it St. John that said Kaon is really good? He just needs to figure it out, or he needs to believe that himself?
Yep, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about it when I was getting ready for the day, doing podcast prep at 6 a.m. And I was thinking about that. And I have a soft spot for Kaon, just in that, he's made mistakes. He's had some bumps along the way. And now this is it. Like, this is he's done after this. And who knows what his future entails. I'm sure he would love to head back to Hawaii where it's warm and he doesn't have to deal with Iowa winters.
Yep.
But I would really like to see him be able to finish really strong because he was predicted to do really well in the past. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I don't know that it was necessarily for lack of talent. I think he has it. He just needs to figure out what's holding. What is it? His Achilles heel? Is that what I'm
Achilles
looking for?
heel. Yeah.
He just needs to figure that out. But
hopefully it's not his Achilles heel. We've had enough injuries.
yeah, knock on wood. So no, I agree. Even in the post-duel, Dresser said he still felt good about him. It was just a tough match and it's a tough loss. And he was obviously very frustrated. And it just kind of sucked how the last 5 seconds of that match went. So fingers crossed it turns around. But I am very much rooting for him. And I just really want him to get something good. I want that for him. But I think looking ahead, the only one we haven't really talked about is Daniel Herrera, which I think is a good point to just jump into it. Everybody wants to know what's happening with Younger.
Yep.
To be honest, is he going to get a red shirt? I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Well, if you read articles from all over the nation, 6 days ago, the NCAA said that they're looking into just giving everyone 5 years. No red shirts. Everyone just gets 5 years. So is Dresser going to just take that and run with it and wrestle Younger for the rest of the year? I mean, Daniel Herrera has already burned his quote unquote red shirt.
Yeah.
So who knows?
I know. And I know that obviously people turn to us and ask because the expectation is we have the answers. But I think with Younger's situation, it's just kind of unique, right? Like, we don't know what conversations he's having with his doctors. I think they've been evaluating his knee.
It's his knee, yeah.
Obviously, in a perfect world, give him a red shirt. I want him to come back healthy. I don't want to watch Younger limp his way through his final season. But at the end of the day, I don't have an answer for you guys. Obviously, things are constantly changing with the NCAA. And like you said, who knows what the heck they're going to do about that 5th year. But as of now, I will go with Dresser's telling us. And as of now, he's kind of a game time decision. He's traveling with them.
Yep. So we might see Younger against Ryder or Bucknell this weekend.
Yeah, he's listed. He's listed in the probables. It's him and Daniel. So we'll see.
Yep.
But will I be surprised if he doesn't wrestle? Yeah. No.
Will I be surprised if he does wrestle? Yes. No. It's one of those things where it's like, at this point, I am relatively expecting Younger to wrestle. I think he probably wrestles more than a few matches, more than enough to burn any sort of red shirt he might be trying to get. So we'll see.
Will we see him against Wyatt Hendrickson?
We'll see. That's a good question. He wrestled against Ben Keeter of Iowa.
See?
So
it's a good question. That one's not that far away.
No, a couple
the
weeks.
26th?
Yeah.
January 26th? Yeah, it just, we don't know. And same with Anthony. Dresser said end of January. That's all he gave us. That as of Monday, they're expecting him to come back on the end of January.
Yep.
So it's just kind of up in the air, which really sucks. Obviously, we would love to have answers. It would make our job a lot easier. But unfortunately, those two are just kind of a little trickier. So when we know, you will know. I promise.
Problem is we might not know.
Yeah, it just kind of depends. And usually, Dresser's pretty good at letting us know things and being very candid about what's going on. But I think this one's just a little more complex. So, but for now, Daniel Herrera, that wasn't a super great match. I don't have a lot to say, to be honest.
He was right there. I mean, Michael Wolfgram is a guy that Younger Bastida tech falls every time. So
Yeah.
I would have liked to see Herrera pull that one out. I think he had an opportunity to. I think that was probably the first time he's felt someone that big and still relatively athletic, because Wolfgram is one of those guys who's a full 285. That's a big guy. So again, I think sort of similar to MJ, just kind of got gassed.
Yeah,
in that
he
third
did look
period,
gassed.
and it's like, all right, so conditioning. If you figure that one out, that's a match you're able to win, because he got a takedown against him and got close a couple other times. So it's like, all right, let's finish those shots. Let's keep your conditioning up, and that's a match that you win in the future. So
Yeah. I'm not too worried about it.
no,
Like if we don't see Younger at all and it's Herrera, that's fine with me. You know, like he's shown enough promise. He has enough drive from the conversations we've had with him that I think he can add some points to the board, which that's kind of where I'm at now. I've officially kind of removed my brain from looking at the team as a whole, and I'm just looking at them as individuals. And it kind of goes back to, if you're not someone who can go contend for a title, at least be someone who can give your team 3 to 5 points.
Yep.
Get some points on the board to help them, you know, climb the ladder in terms of the team race. But and I feel fine with Herrera. I really do.
Yep.
So
I think he is the future at heavyweight for Iowa State. I think he can be very, very good, but he's a true freshman right now. So it is what it is.
It's easy to forget when it's the big guys. But Iowa State will wrestle on Saturday. They're going to wrestle at what is called the Virginia Duels. Ryder and Bucknell will be their competition. You can watch this. I believe it's Flow Wrestling. Yep. There will be no Iowa State broadcasts, just for people that really like to listen to that. Just a heads up. I mean, like Dresser said, these guys need reps. This is an opportunity to get more reps. So, and the probables are up on the website. I'll probably tweet them out so people can see. Nothing out of the ordinary. The only one that I was kind of like, is that they have Osmani listed as an or with Evan Frost.
Okay.
That was the only thing that I was like, okay. Oh, and I guess they do have Manny Rojas.
Oh, okay.
It's Aiden Riggins or Manny Rojas at 165.
Okay. Given how Aiden just wrestled, I want to see him in as many matches as possible, just to make sure it's not a fluke.
You've changed your mind?
I've totally changed my mind. I want to see him build on that.
Yeah.
And like if he's dinged up, okay, fine. But I want to see if that was a fluke. I want to see if he's able to repeat that against lower competition. I want to see him get some confidence, because Ryder and Bucknell are teams that generally can build your confidence on. So like, this is nothing against Manny Rojas. I want to see Aiden Riggins at 165 in as many matches as possible at this point.
You might as well capitalize off of it, right?
Yeah.
Might as well. Gosh, I had a thought and I lost it. Oh, speaking of confidence, needing to build your confidence, Christian Carroll, he's few weeks out from returning to the lineup, it sounds like. He has been interesting, right? Like, kind of hasn't quite met expectations that we had set heading into the season.
Those first couple matches against Stanford and Navy looked great.
And then you get to Iowa.
And then you got to Stephen Buchanan in Iowa. And it's like, okay. And then you got to Cliff Keen. And anytime he wrestled someone that was ranked, not great. So, yes, that's one where he needs to figure some things out.
Yeah. And I think it, again, comes back to maybe he just needs a little more action. Because, again, he is basically a freshman.
Yep.
He was injured his entire first year. This is his first year back. And then he gets dinged up again.
Yep.
It just... So, yeah,
I think has all the talent in the world, and I still believe can compete with almost anyone in the country. I think that's the thing.
Okay.
He just needs to get his confidence right. He needs to get his head space right, which, again, when you're injured for like 3 straight years or 2 straight years or whatever it is for him, I get how it can be difficult.
Yeah.
So I hope he's able to get his mind right and feeling good and feeling confident, because that's the whole thing with these injuries, right? Is if you're second guessing what your body can do, things are not going to go well for you. You have to be very confident what your body isn't able to do. And once he's in that space, I think we see a really, really good Christian Carroll.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it takes for him to get there.
Yeah, I just don't have a good feel for him. I really don't. Maybe it's just because, he's new and we haven't seen too much of him. Maybe it's because I feel like we just really have not been around the team. Like, I seriously feel like we are not around them. Like, I was thinking of my photos and I was like, all I have is the Iowa pictures.
Yeah.
So it just weird times. But looking ahead, big picture, question for you. They have some tough matches coming up. I mean, they're going to face Oklahoma State, Arizona State. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you guys I know exactly what's going on with Arizona State because I haven't yet. but like they're still, a team that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and I just beat Nebraska.
Yep.
Number 3 Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
And you're taking a road trip to Cedar Falls for that one. And I mean, Missouri. How are you feeling about how this team can do?
I think there's going to be some really tough matches coming up. I think Oklahoma State's going to be a big struggle. UNI, I think, is going to be as competitive as it's ever been. Mm-hmm. I think there's a real opportunity for both teams to win that one. Missouri is going to be another one of those that's just super competitive. So last year, and even the year before, you felt pretty confident about Iowa State winning most dual meets. Mm-hmm. They had a really solid dual meet team. This team, right now, as it's currently constructed, seems like more of a tournament team, especially given all of the injuries, because you don't really know what team they're throwing out there until the match actually happens.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling okay, but there's either going to be some guys who have to really step up, or Iowa State's going to have to get really healthy really fast.
Yeah, or get some upsets there from, like Aiden Riggins. Go do something.
Aiden Riggins, do something special, man.
Go do something crazy. Yeah, I wonder if coaches find it annoying when we talk about them as tournament or dual teams. I know it drove Dresser a little crazy that one year where it was like the conversation everybody was having. Like, it wasn't just us. It was like Flo was having it and Intermat was having it and like all the podcasts were doing it. I'm curious how they feel about it. We should ask them sometime. I'm just like curious what their opinion is on that specifically. But no, I agree. Like I said, I'm definitely looking at these guys more as individuals than I have before. Whereas like I feel like last season it was definitely like looking at it as a whole collective.
Yep.
But I do think that despite splitting with West Virginia, I do feel good about what they'll do in March. Like I think something crazy in terms of injuries or whatever lineup changes they'd have would have to happen. Like something crazy would have to happen to change my opinion at this point. Like I feel like they're going to have a good March. I don't know what that's going to look like. I'm not saying they're going to finish top 3.
I was going to say we're going to have to define good March. Good March for me for this team is a top 10 finish.
Yeah, I can see them finishing in the top 10.
Yeah.
If things kind of progress the way they're looking, like people start to heal up, start to feel better, getting reps, build some confidence, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But again, this is like nothing crazy happening, nothing else happening. And I'm just going to assume I don't see Younger, and I don't even know what to think about Etch. I can't even think about Etch right now. I can't. I'll just plan on seeing him in February.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So I think with who we saw wrestle at West Virginia, which could change, I feel they'll be fine.
Yeah.
If everybody can just kind of.
Yeah. So I'm going to caveat that. I think Iowa State only finishes top 10 if they get Anthony and Younger back.
Okay.
If those two aren't in the lineup, I think this is a top 15 finish. Okay. I don't think it's way worse, but I think Younger pushes them into the top 10. So that's the only caveat I have with that.
Yeah, I guess I forgot how stacked that heavyweight class is. Daniel Herrera's going to have a time if he's who's wrestling in March, which is good. You need that. You need to feel out people like that.
Yeah.
It's unprecedented times here at Iowa State Wrestling. My gosh. Yeah. Any final thoughts?
I looked it up. Sam Colbray wrestled at heavyweight against North Dakota State.
Okay.
Back in 2016.
Okay.
He lost. He got pinned. So.
Gosh.
Yeah.
All I can think of is like the lean Sam Colbray that left. I can't imagine what he looked like when he was a heavyweight.
He looked lean. He was not like Keon Smith and someone else were injured. So they just had Sam Colbray wrestle at 285. Pat Downey, shout out to Pat Downey, wrestled at 184, so he wasn't going to make that weight. And then Joe Teague wrestled at 197 for Iowa State in that dual meet. So I don't know how Sam Colbray drew the shortest of straws in that one, but he was the one that wrestled heavyweight in that dual meet. So not to bring everyone down, both that lost to North Dakota State during the worst season ever in Iowa State history. But
what season was that?
the year KJ got fired. They went 1-12 in dual meets. But this is not that team. This is a much better team than that one. Kevin Dresser has proven to be a phenomenal coach for Iowa State. They are a trophy team. So I will bring everyone back up with all of that.
Yeah, guys. Remember how fun we had back in March? Yeah, it's just an off year.
Yeah.
I don't think this has anything to do with the state of the program
Not
or the
at all.
future of the program.
It's a super young team.
It's
a
just
super young team.
It's just kind of like Dresser
And there's
said.
been some annoying injuries.
Yeah, it just kind of hits you. And when it hits you, it really does hit you. So that kind of sucks. But I'm excited to get back to Hilton. I know we have to get through Virginia duels first. And is that it? Is that all we got before we head back?
Cyclone Open technically happens.
Yes, Cyclone Open on the 19th. And then Oklahoma and Oklahoma State come to town January 24th and 26th. I'm pumped. Like I said, I just feel like we have not been around this team. So I'm excited to just see who the heck steps out on the mat that weekend and be back mat side doing my job. I'll be 30 then.
Wow. Happy birthday.
I'm turning 30 on the 20th.
Yep.
Fun times. So this weekend, I'll be tweeting out the results. I'll make sure you guys know what's going on. Should be, like Ben said, these are teams Iowa State should beat, but we'll see what happens. We'll see who wrestles. But like I said, the lineup right now in the probables is what we saw besides the two that I brought up. So I feel like it should be a status quo weekend. So, and it will be on Flow Wrestling in case you're interested in watching it. So, anything else, Ben?
That's it.
Well, as always, guys, we appreciate you listening. Shout out to Fareway, our fearless supporters. And it's going to be, we're hitting the fun part. This is where things get crazy.
Yep.
So
finally get dual meets again.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be fun. And it's tough competition. So, I mean, Oklahoma State alone just coming to town will be a good time.
Yep.
So we'll be back next week to talk all things Virginia duels and talking ahead. So thanks for listening, guys.